How finding your passion changes everything. Hi, everyone. I am Daniela. I'm a transformational coach, and I have a special gift for you today. And my gift is a story that was collected by the wonderful Sir Ken Robinson in his book, The Element. Sir Ken Robinson passed away this year, and this is also a way of honoring him and honoring this year because this story in particular and this entire book had a profound effect on me because it states that we all have the element, and the element he describes as the point at which natural talents meets personal passion. When people arrive at the element, they feel most like themselves, most inspired, and achieve at their highest level. And he's giving a few very inspiring examples where the element of people wasn't necessarily what was recognized and appreciated by our traditional educational system. So I think it can resonate with many of us who feel like they did not completely fit into that system. And if you bear with me after this story, I actually would like to talk about passion a little bit more because I think it's sometimes a term that's a bit misunderstood or a term that gives a lot of pressure. Oh, I have to find my passion, I have to find my purpose. And I think it's far easier than we think it is. But more of that later. So enjoy this story. I hope you like it. Chilin was only 8 years old, but her future was already at risk. Her schoolwork was a disaster, at least as far as her teachers were concerned. She turned in assignments late, her handwriting was terrible, and she tested poorly. Not only that, she was a disruption to the entire class. 1 minute fidgeting noisily, the next staring out the window, forcing the teacher to stop the class to pull Jillian's attention back, and the next doing something to disturb the other children around her. Jillian wasn't particularly concerned about any of this. She was used to being corrected by authority figures and really didn't see herself as a difficult child. But the school was very concerned. This came to a head when the school wrote to her parents. The school thought that Jillian had a learning disorder of some sort and that it might be appropriate for her to be in a school for children with special needs. All of this took place in the 1930s. I think now they'd say she had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and they'd put her on Ritalin or something similar. But the ADHD epidemic hadn't been invented at the time. It wasn't an available condition. People didn't know they could have that and had to get by without it. Chilean's parents received a letter from the school with great concern and sprang to action. Chilean's mother put her daughter in her best dress and shoes, tied her hair in a ponytail, and took her to a psychologist for assessment, fearing the worst. Chilean told me that she remembers being invited into a large oak paneled room with leather bound books on the shelves. Standing in the room next to a large desk was an imposing man in a tweed jacket. He took Chilean to the far end of the room and sat her down on a huge leather sofa. Chilean's feet didn't quite touch the floor, and the setting made her wary. Nervous about the impression she would make, she sat on her hands so that she wouldn't fidget. The psychologist went back to his desk, and for the next 20 minutes, he asked Chilean's mother about the difficulties Chilean was having at school and the problems the school said she was causing. While he didn't direct any of his questions at Chilean, he watched her carefully the entire time. This made Chilean extremely uneasy and confused. Even at this tender age, she knew that this man would have a significant role in her life. She knew what it meant to attend a special school, and she didn't want anything to do with that. She genuinely didn't feel that she had any real problems, but everyone else seemed to believe she did. Given the way her mother answered the questions, it was possible that even she felt like that. Maybe, Jillian thought, they were right. Eventually, Jillian's mother and the psychologist stopped talking. The man rose from his desk, walked to the sofa, and sat next to the little girl. Jillian, you've been very patient, and I thank you for that, he said. But I'm afraid you'll have to be patient for a little longer. I need to speak to your mother privately now. We're going to go out of the room for a few minutes, but don't worry, we won't be very long. Jillian nodded apprehensively, and the two adults left her sitting there on her own. But as he was leaving the room, the psychologist leaned across his desk and turned on the radio. As soon as they were in the corridor outside the room, the doctor said to Julian's mother, "Just stand here for a moment and watch what she does." There was a window into the room, and they stood to one side of it where Gillian couldn't see them. Nearly immediately, Gillian was on her feet, moving around the room to the music. The two adults stood watching quietly for a few minutes, transfixed by the girl's grace. Anyone would have noticed there was something natural, even primal, about Gillian's movements, just as they would have surely caught the expression of utter pleasure on her face. At last, the psychologist turned to Gillian's mother and said, "You know, Mrs. Lynn, Gillian isn't sick. She's a dancer. Take her to dance school." I asked Gillian what happened. She said her mother did exactly what the psychologist suggested. "I can't tell you how wonderful it was," she told me. "I walked into this room and it was full of people like me, people who couldn't sit still, people who had to move to think." She started going to the dance school every week and she practiced at home every day. Eventually, she auditioned for the Royal Ballet School in London and they accepted her. She went on to join the Royal Ballet Company itself, becoming a soloist and performing all over the world. When that part of her career ended, she formed her own musical theatre company and produced a series of highly successful shows in London and New York. Eventually, she met Andrew Lloyd Webber and created with him some of the most successful musical theatre productions in history, including Cats and Phantom of the Opera. Little Gillian, the girl with the high-risk future, became known to the world as Gillian Lynn, one of the most accomplished choreographers of our time, someone who has brought pleasure to millions and earned millions of dollars. This happened because someone looked deep into her eyes, someone who had seen children like her before and knew how to read the signs. Someone else might have put her on medication and told her to calm down. But Gillian wasn't a problem child. She didn't need to go away to a special school. She just needed to be who she really was. That's the story I wanted to share with you. And, even though this might be an exceptional journey that Gillian Lynn went on, I think it's so much more true for many of us. We have gifts and talents and passions that are maybe not recognized and are not appreciated in a traditional educational system or even a traditional career system. So when we talk about passion, I think it's important also to see it's something that energizes you. It's something that gives you joy. It's something that expands you, it's something that fills your cup. When you live your passion and you do your passion, you never feel depleted, right? And I think there is a difference also for me between being passionate about something and finding your passion, because being passionate when it comes to career, for example, I'm passionate about a lot of things. I'm passionate about healthy cooking and food. I'm passionate about art. I'm passionate about gardening. I'm passionate about architecture and design. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's become my job or my work or my vocation, but there are other things that I think for me what a passion is, and I think it's what he says, it's this overlay of natural talents and personal passion. So I think what also helped me to find what my passion is really thinking about my genius. What are my essence qualities? What are my genius qualities? What can I bring that nobody else can bring? And I think that's where for me kind of the lights went on in my head, and I realized I'm passionate about helping people. My passion is to serve others. My passion is to shine a light when somebody feels hopeless and in the darkness and like there's no way through. And that's why I turned to coaching and healing. That's been my passion for a long time, and I finally managed to turn it into my vocation as well. And I think it's this overlap of what energizes you, what gives you joy, what you're passionate about, and where you really feel like you can make a unique contribution. And I think this year, especially for many of us, it has forced us to kind of stop and reevaluate. And I think it's been a moment to renew our passions. I think it's also been a moment where we realize we have to do things differently, right? And we see big shifts happening in the way we work and the way we communicate, obviously, because we have to. But also, for example, here in Mallorca, people have depended on tourism for a long, long time. And tourism has reached a level that's become insane. We're an island of 1 million inhabitants. And 2019, so last year, we had 17 million visitors in a year. And it's just been crazy. And people have started to rely so much on tourism. So when it broke down, obviously, a lot of people are in deep pain. And I feel really bad for that. I feel a lot of compassion for all the people that are suffering from that. On the other hand, I also realize it has forced us to rethink. And I just recently read or heard a report from Bali where people have gone back to traditional farming and traditional crafts. And I think that's just an example of how we had to stop and rethink and reevaluate what we're doing. And my gift for you, or my wish and my invitation for 2021, is really being more in that openness and curiosity and exploration and saying, okay, things that I've done before don't work anymore. What am I going to do now? And I think finding your passion, finding your creativity, doing what you really love, doing what really energizes you, what brings you joy, what makes you feel expansive and excited, and wants you to get out of bed in the morning. I know it's a cliche, but it's so true. I think this is a very good intention and a big goal to strive for. And by the way, I also just want to mention that during the month of January, I am offering intention setting sessions that dives deeper into all of this: your passion, your creativity, your genius, where also in life you are, because in different stages in life, different things are important. And there's a way to reconnect with what is ripe and what is in season for you right now. So that's also just an invitation. I'm going to put the link at the bottom if you're interested in that to book a session. I'm going to do it throughout the month of January. There's limited spaces available. So if you're interested, then please let me know as soon as possible. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you enjoyed the little discourse and passion. And I wish you a wonderful, beautiful few days that are left in 20, and all the best, and a lot of joy and happiness and passion and excitement and renewal for 2021. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks for liking and sharing. And I'll see you soon again. Bye.